Okay, picture this for a second. You spend your entire life, and I mean your entire life, obsessed with one single
A
goal,
huge goal.
a huge physical ambition. You spent decades training for it. You've sacrificed weekends, missed parties, bought all the most expensive gear. You're climbing a mountain. And not just any mountain. We're talking Everest.
The big one. Yeah. The ultimate test.
Exactly. So you spend 40 years just struggling up those icy slopes. You're fighting gravity. You're gasping for oxygen.
Your muscles are just screaming at you.
Screaming, but you keep going. And finally you do it. You plant your flag at the summit. You've hit your number. You won. But here's the question. And honestly, it's the question that drives our whole deep dive today.
Okay.
Does the strategy that got you at the top of the mountain guarantee you make it back down alive?
That is the ultimate question, isn't it? And if you actually look at the statistics of high-altitude mountaineering, the answer is, well, it's a terrifying no.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're unpacking a really fascinating presentation by Chris Agata that tackles this exact problem. We're talking about life stage planning and a concept that sounds like, I don't know, a summer blockbuster. It's called the retirement danger zone.
It does sound dramatic. But, having gone through Abeto's presentation, the drama is completely justified. He has this knack for taking these complex financial terrors,
Right.
things like market volatility, withdrawal rates, all of that, and mapping them onto these stories about mountains and doctors that they instantly click.
I love when experts use metaphors that actually land. And the mission here is pretty specific. We want to look at Abeta's Everest curve theory.
Yeah.
And help you figure out if you're using the right strategy for the age of your money. Because as it turns out, money ages just like we do.
That is the key insight. And to really get that, we have to start with that mountain.
Right. Let's go back to Everest. In the financial world, we are culturally obsessed with the number.
Oh, totally.
You hear it all the time, right? I need $2 million to retire, or I need $5 million. That number. That's the summit.
Correct. And the entire financial services industry is basically built around the ascent. It's the accumulation phase. It's all about growth, compounding, taking risks, and just fighting gravity to get that account balance as high as you can. But Abeta drops this counterintuitive fact on us right away. He asks, when do most deaths occur on Mount Everest?
My logic says it has to be on the way up. I mean, you're exerting the most energy, you're fighting the element.
Pushing your body to the max.
To the max, just to get there, yeah.
That's what almost everyone assumes. But statistically, most fatalities happen on the descent.
After the summit.
After
you've already won.
Yeah.
After you took a selfie and, popped a champagne.
Precisely. You've achieved the goal, but you've run out of the resources you need to get back home safely. And in this analogy, the descent is the distribution phase. It's retirement. It's the act of spending what you saved. And Abeta's core argument is that just like on the mountain, the descent is where you are most vulnerable.
I think this is where the light bulb really went on for me. The skills that you need to make money are fundamentally different from the skills you need to keep money while you're spending it.
Oh, completely different. And this is where people get hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the ascent, the accumulation phase. Volatility is actually your friend.
Right.
If the market crashes while you're 30 years old and still climbing, you're just buying cheaper shares. You're dollar cost averaging. You're buying the dip.
Gravity is annoying, but it's manageable. In fact, you almost want the market to dip so you can buy more on sale.
Exactly. But on the way down, gravity is lethal. When you're in the distribution phase, you don't have the luxury of time. You aren't adding money anymore. You're subtracting it.
And if the market pulls back while you're subtracting.
Well, that's where the math breaks.
Okay, we're definitely going to get into that broken math in a minute because that's the technical core of this. But first, I want to touch on the other analogy Abeta uses.
Yes.
Because if the mountain explains the journey, this next part explains the strategy. He talks about doctors.
This is the one that really resonated with me because it's so biologically obvious, yet we completely ignore it when it comes to our wallets. He just walks through the life cycle of medical care.
Okay, so take us through it. You're a kid, you have a fever. Who do you go to?
The pediatrician. The waiting room has blocks and magazines, maybe a fish tank. It's all designed for growth, for resilience. Kids, they bounce back.
Right. But then you turn 18 or 21, you can't go there anymore. They literally kick you out.
They do?
You need a general practitioner.
A grown-up doctor.
And then you fast forward again, you're over the hill.
Yeah.
Things start creaking.
Uh-oh.
Your blood pressure is an issue. You don't just see the GP anymore. You see specialists, the cardiologists.
Yeah.
the orthopedic surgeon. As the body ages, the complexity of care increases. You can't treat a 65-year-old heart with the same approach you use for a 6-year-old scraped knee.
Exactly. And here is the aha moment Abeyta drives home. Money has a biological age.
Explain that, because money doesn't have cells. A dollar is a dollar, right?
No, because money has a timeline attached to it. Young money is the money you save in your 20s and 30s. It's incredibly resilient.
Okay.
It can take a massive hit. It can scrape its knee in a 40% market correction. And because it has 30 years to recover, it heals. In fact, it often grows back stronger. That's the pediatrician phase.
High risk, high growth, high resilience.
Yes. But here's the critical error Abeyta identifies, and it is rampant. He sees people who are retired, or maybe 5 years away from it, who are still using that pediatrician strategy.
They're treating their geriatric money like it's a teenager.
They are. They are chasing maximum growth. They're heavy into equities, taking risks that made perfect sense 20 years ago. They haven't upgraded their doctor.
So they're basically sitting in the little chairs in the pediatrician's waiting room.
Hoping for the best while their portfolio is facing these complex aging problems.
And those problems are what we were alluding to, the broken math. In the industry, they call the sequence of returns risk, right?
Spot on. This is the technical concept that everyone needs to understand if they are over age 50. This is the monster under the bed.
Let's break that down, because sequence of returns sounds like a bunch of jargon, but it's actually really scary arithmetic.
It is. Okay, let's do a quick thought experiment. Imagine you have a portfolio. If you're in the accumulation phase, the ascent, the order of your investment returns doesn't really matter. You can have a bad year, then a good year, or a good year, then a bad year. If the average is, say, 7%, you end up in the exact same place.
Because you aren't touching the money. The math just works out the same.
Right. But once you start withdrawing money, the descent, the sequence, matters more than the average. This is the danger. If you get the bad returns early in your retirement, while you're also pulling money out to live on, you can destroy the portfolio.
Even if the market recovers later.
Even if it recovers. Abeyta uses a specific term for this. He calls it reverse dollar cost averaging.
Okay, that sounds bad.
It is. Think about it. Your portfolio drops by half. To pay your electric bill and buy groceries, you now have to sell shares. But because the price is down, you have to sell twice as many shares to get the same amount of cash.
You are cannibalizing the account. You're eating the seed corn.
You are locking in those losses permanently. Those shares are gone.
Yeah.
They can never grow back when the market eventually recovers because you sold them to pay the bills.
Mm.
This is the death spiral.
Wow.
Abeyta says a significant drop in this zone can change the course of your retirement and life forever.
It's irreversible. That's the difference. On the ascent, mistakes are fixable. On the descent, some mistakes are fatal.
Which brings us right back to the doctor. Why would you trust a pediatrician, a high-growth, high-volatility strategy, to manage a condition that requires a cardiologist?
You wouldn't.
You need a strategy that prioritizes preservation and income, not just raw growth.
This leads to the most practical part of Abeyta's talk. How do you know if you're at risk? He asks the audience to do something physical here. He tells them to draw a timeline and mark an X.
This is a great exercise for everyone listening right now. Just visualize a timeline of your life. Where's your X? Are you 10 years from retirement? 2 years? Are you already there?
And there's a specific zone, right? If that X is within 5 years of retirement, either 5 years before you quit or the first 5 years after, you're in what Abeyta calls the retirement danger zone.
That is the window. That 10-year period is the red zone.
And here's the nightmare scenario he lays out. Imagine you're in that zone, you've just retired, you've got your nest egg, you feel great.
Yeah.
And let's say the market drops 50%.
Oof. A 2008 style crash. Or the dot-com bubble. Or a pandemic crash.
Exactly. If you're 30 years old, a 50% drop is annoying. You ignore your statement, maybe drink a little extra wine, and you keep working.
You just keep buying.
But if you're retired?
If you're retired and you suffer a 50% drop while you're withdrawing money, the math we just discussed kicks in with a vengeance. Your $1 million portfolio becomes $500,000. Now, to get back to $1 million, you don't need a 50% return. You need a 100% return.
Which, almost never happens quickly.
Right. And while you're waiting for that miracle 100% return, you're still withdrawing 4 or 5% a year to live. You're digging the hole deeper. every single month.
So the strategy just has to shift. It can't be growth, growth, growth anymore.
No, Abeta is very clear on this. The mantra has to shift to protect, protect, protect. You move from accumulation to preservation. You stop trying to beat the market and you start trying to survive the descent.
So if the stakes are this high, literally the difference between leaving a legacy and running out of money at age 80, why do so many smart people get this wrong? Abate points to something psychological here that I found really interesting.
He does. It's the first time problem.
It sounds obvious, but you only retire once?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're creatures of habit.
Yeah.
You spent 40 years practicing how to make money. You're an expert at saving, an expert at working, but you're a total novice at retiring. You have 0 practice hours.
Yeah. And Abiata uses the phrase, you don't know what you don't know.
Which is the most dangerous kind of ignorance. You might feel confident because you have a big number in your 401k. You think, I have $1 million, I'm rich.
Sure.
But you don't realize the rules of the game have fundamentally changed. It's like you've been playing basketball your whole life and suddenly you're on a football field, but you're still trying to dribble. You're going to get tackled.
And he mentions that people feel this confusion. I mean, the financial world is complex. It's overwhelming.
Right. And when human beings are confused or overwhelmed, or when the rules change, what's our default behavior?
Inertia.
Inertia. We just keep doing what we've always done.
We stay with the pediatrician.
We stay with the pediatrician because we know where the office is, we know the staff, we like the lollipop at the end, it feels safe emotionally, but mathematically, it's the riskiest thing you can do.
So without a system or a process to force that change, people just default to their old habits.
They do.
So how do we break that inertia? If we're standing on the summit looking down at that dangerous descent and we realize we're wearing the wrong shoes, what do?
You need a process.
Yeah.
You cannot rely on your gut because your gut is trained for the ascent. Abeta emphasizes that decision-making in this phase needs to be systematic. You need an audit.
He talks about analyzing the portfolio through the lens of the season of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't just looking at a pie chart and saying, oh, I have some Apple stock and some bonds.
No, it's a stress test. It's asking specific hard questions. Question 1. Does this portfolio design match my current biological age? Question 2. Is this portfolio designed to generate reliable income in a down market?
That second one is key. Income in a down market. Most people just ask, what's the return?
Exactly. Returns are vanity. Income is sanity. In retirement, you need cash flow. And if your strategy relies on selling stocks that might be down 20% just to generate that cash, your strategy is flawed.
You need a specialist.
You need a specialist who can say, hey, this is a race car engine. It's great for speed, but you're about to go off-roading. You need torque, not horsepower.
I like that. Upgrading the engine. It's not about abandoning the stock market and putting it all under a mattress.
No, that has its own risks like inflation. You can't just go to cash. That's like dying of hypothermia on the mountain. You still need growth to fight inflation, but you need protected growth. You need different tools.
Tools that a pediatrician or a simple growth algorithm might not use?
That's right.
It really just comes down to awareness then. The first step is looking at that timeline, marking your X, and just admitting that you're in the danger zone.
And realizing that the danger zone isn't a bad place. It's just an unforgiving place. You can navigate it safely. People climb down Everest safely every single year.
True.
But they don't do it by running. They do it with ropes, with guides, and with a very specific plan for every single step.
So let's bring this all together.
Mhm.
We've covered a lot of ground today. We have the mountain. The ascent is work. The descent is retirement.
And the descent is where the bodies are buried because the physics of wealth change. The math flips.
Volatility goes from being an annoyance to being a threat.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the doctor. We move from the pediatrician to the specialist.
Because as our money ages, it loses its ability to recover from trauma. So we have to stop exposing it to unnecessary trauma. We move from growth at all costs to protect, protect, protect.
And if we don't make that change,
we're walking into a potential 50% market drop without a parachute. We're risking that irreversible math that can wipe out decades of hard work in just a matter of months.
it's really about matching your strategy to your reality.
That's the takeaway. A strategy is only good if it matches the environment. A down parka is a lifesaver on Everest. It's a heat stroke waiting to happen in the Sahara. High-risk growth stocks are great for a 30-year-old. They can be lethal for a 65-year-old who needs to pay for groceries next month.
It's funny how we separate money from the rest of our lives. We would never wear a parka to the beach, but we happily keep our parka portfolio when we move to the beach house of retirement.
Because we don't see the mismatch until the weather changes, until the market drops, and by then, it's often too late to change clothes.
That brings us to our final thought for today. We always like to leave you with something to chew on, something that might make you a little uncomfortable, but is necessary.
Right. We talked about the danger zone. We talked about the 50% drop. So here's the question, specifically for you. If the stock market dropped 50% tomorrow, literally tomorrow morning, would your lifestyle survive?
Would you still be able to retire on time? Would you still be able to pull out that monthly income check without destroying your principal?
Or would you realize too late that you're still sitting in the pediatrician's office?
That's a scary question. But it's better to ask it now while the sun is shining than after the storm hits.
Absolutely. That X on your timeline is moving every single day. Make sure your strategy is moving with it.
Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Hopefully we've helped you see the mountain a little differently today.
Safe climbing, everyone.
And safe descent. We'll see you next time. The views expressed here are those of Chris Abeyta, Dustin West, and the Confidence Financial Partners team. They do not necessarily represent those of RFG Advisory's management, unless specifically stated by an RFG representative. This discussion should not be regarded as a specific or comprehensive description of advisory services provided by RFG Advisory. The views reflected and statements made in the commentary are subject to change at any time without notice. Some information here is provided, in part, by third-party sources. These sources are generally deemed to be reliable. However, neither Confidence Wealth Partners nor RFG Advisory guarantee the accuracy of third-party sources. Advisory services offered by investment advisory representatives of RFG Advisory, LLC, RFG Advisory, or RFG, a registered investment advisor. Confidence Financial Partners and RFG Advisory are unaffiliated entities. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where RFG Advisory and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. No advisory services may be rendered by RFG Advisory unless a client agreement is in place. RFG Advisory is an SEC-registered investment advisor. SEC registration does not constitute an endorsement of RFG by the Commission, nor does it indicate that RFG or any associated investment advisory representative has attained a particular level of skill or ability.